Hey everybody, Alex here, and it's time for another demo. So today we've got a full-blown demo of a delivery management system where you're going to be able to generate pick lists for your orders. In typical fashion, we're going to go through a quick demo of how the system works. Then we're going to dive into how the database is set up, which is quite simple this time around. Then we're going to take a look at how Documint is set up, because we're going to be using Documint to generate this document. And then we're going to take a look at how Make is set up, which looks complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually quite simple. So let's get started. Okay, so let's get started with a quick demo of how the system works. I have some customers, I have some orders, basically line items of an order. You could also consider them as one-shot orders. Not one-shot orders. Essentially, it's one order number, as you can see here, 3751, but it is comprised of product number 2, 1 of, and product number 3 of. There's also another order over here for Mr. Harvey for product number 1, where he wants 3 of that. Then we have the delivery management, where I'm essentially creating a delivery. I'm adding some pick list notes. I'm adding which orders are going to be part of that delivery, and there's some lookup fields and such. Then I will click one button over here and we'll generate a pick list such as this one. And let me show you how this works. I'm just going to clear all of this right here, right now. Create pick slip. And you can see the system is telling us what's happening at this point. And it's complete. And once you open it up, you can see basically two things. You can see the product breakdown. So essentially, you know how many of each product you need to pick up from the warehouse. And then you have a breakdown of stops right over here. Harvey Jones, Mike Rose, and how many items you need to drop off per stop. I've also included a little tick box, because I presume that the driver is going to be printing this out and taking it with them on the van. You can also change the, change the order by which these deliveries are being dropped in. So for instance, right now we have Mr. Harvey Jones being first, and he's the one with product 1, I believe. So if I jump in here and put him right at the very bottom, you can see now he is at the top right here. Now that I've changed it, and I'm going to regenerate my pick slip, you'll see how Harvey is going to be at the bottom of that delivery. So it's a very easy way of arranging what delivery goes first, basically. And let's take a look. And you can see now that Harvey Jones is at the bottom of the list, while Mike Rose is at the top of the list. That's it in terms of the quick demo. Let's go ahead and dive in straight into how the database is designed. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at how the database is designed at this point. It's a very straightforward design. There's really not much going on. We have our list of customers with emails, first names, last names, and the link to order items with allowed linking to multiple records. Orders, which are the order line items, basically, where we have an order number, the order date, the customer email, or basically a link back to the customers that we just saw in customers. Some lookup fields for the first name, last name, the product of that order, with a product name being there, just a concatenated product name, basically. A quantity, which is how much of this product do I need? I want, let's say, 2. Then the price from the product, which is the single line item price of the product. And then a combined price, so 2 times $125 is $250. So that gives you the full line item price. Then we have some old, not really used fields, which I'll just delete. They're not being used anywhere. But yeah, delete. So that's completely fine. Then we have address, just a consolidated address. Essentially, this is the delivery at line 1, 2, and 3, and just the full address, basically consolidated in one cell, all in one go. The customer phone number that they've provided, and yeah, the address, all in just simple text fields. And finally, the assigned route, or you could also call this a link to the delivery management system. Essentially, now let's jump into that. Here we have the route name, which is, the 1st of Jan 2023. That's the delivery date, obviously. Concatenate. There we go. Then we have the pick list nodes. So any nodes that you want to show on that pick list or pick slip. Then the orders that are proved to be on that delivery. Products in route. I don't think we need that anymore. Delivery stops. Then we have notes. Just some more notes for us, internal, and then generally pick slip, which is just a checkbox. The attachment where we're going to be printing the PDF. And then the pixlip generation status long text where I'm able to just print all the status updates for that pick list being generated. Finally, last but not least, we have products, which essentially is just a collection of products with their price and related order links as we saw earlier. That's it for the database design. Let's jump into Documint and Make to see what's going on in there and how this whole thing comes together. Awesome. So now that we've had a look at how the database is set up, let's take a look at how I've set up my document or template, because this is going to dictate a little bit as to how our Make automation should behave. So it's very straightforward. I'm going to try my best to explain how I've done this. I'm going to go section by section so that you can see exactly what is within each section, what kind of columns and what the setup is. Hopefully that's going to make sense. Yeah, first section, I just basically have two columns, one with an image and another one with hard-coded text, delivery pick list, and then a text with a placeholder called date, because I want to print the date of that pick slip. Then I have a spacer over here that creates some space. Next, I have a section with this like gray bar that basically has got product breakdown hard-coded in it. Nothing more than that. Next, I have another section over here where I have three columns, one with hard-coded text product name, another with quantity, and another one with value, just hard-coded in. I'm just creating column headers at this point with some borders down here below. If you take a look, there should be a border. Yes, there is selected. It's not 1 pixel. This is probably in and around 2, if I'm not mistaken. It's just that Documint forgets what kind of width you've put in, so this is misleading as it stands right now. So yeah, next we have another section which is now starting to be more interesting. And this is an edit logic section. So it's almost like a looping section, right? The way to set this up is that you create a section, you edit logic, and you skip this condition. I mean, if you want to, you can add a condition, but here in the repeat loop, you need to just call this something. And I've called it line_items. Press save on that. And then you need to add some placeholders. First of all, I have generated product name, which is my product name for my products. Next, I have quantity, which is my quantity, and then price, which is my total line item price. Next, and again, this particular section again has got some borders and corners, slightly grayer as you can see it. I don't know if you can. There's like a gray border to it at the bottom. And again, it's misleading. It's, I think, 3 pixels if I'm not mistaken. Next, we have another section over here where we have an item summary, hard-coded. We have 3 columns. The way that I've done this, just for a little bit of context, is that I created this particular section over here, and then I just duplicated it 3 times. In one case, this section is dynamic because it creates the line items, and in this case, it's not so dynamic because the first part, item summary, is just kind of like aligned to the right. And then I have another column where I have hard-coded total quantity right here at the top. And then I have another boldened placeholder for the variable called total quantity, because I want the system to give me a total number of items. Let's say I have 3 items here that are just 1, 2, 3. I want this to just give me the number 3. And then the same thing with the price. I just wanted to aggregate the full price of these items so that the driver knows what kind of value of goods that he's carrying with him. Next, we have the stops. Again, just a gray bar. I've copied it from here. And then again, I copied one of these sections over here, just added an extra column where we have customer and phone, address, and delivery items. In this case, this section, all of these things are just hard-coded, again with a border at the bottom. And then we have another section. This one is dynamic. This time it's again a repeat loop, but this time it's called delivery stops, because I want to kind of like consolidate this data up here, but grouping it essentially by client, even if one client has got more than one order. Let's say we have client phone, address, and the text basically for their items. Finally, last but not least, I have delivery notes, which are going to be just basically delivery notes from the delivery record itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with the make setup and the whole automation of this process. Okay, so here comes the slightly trickier part of this whole thing. It's the setup of the make automation, which is not too crazy as soon as you get the hang of this. So first and foremost, we begin with our trigger. So for that, we need to jump into automations and then create a new automation where the record matches condition within the delivery management table of generate pick slip is checked. Essentially, the trigger is that once this is checked, then the automation starts. And last but not least, we're running our typical script over here where we're just basically pasting this script in. We're pasting in our webhook that we received from make. So we're pasting that in. And then finally, we have the record ID variable that we need to create, and the value that we need to map is basically the Airtable record ID that needs to go in there. And that's basically it in terms of Airtable. Once the process triggers, we are then proceeding with the rest of this thing in make. And let me give you a quick tour, a quick explanation as to what's going on. So this first part deals with the trigger. These next two parts over here, these two, they deal with everything that's happening within this section, with this loop, and yeah, basically with this loop, believe it or not. Then we have this section over here that deals with this section over here with this value and this value, or the generation of, and of course this particular section over here. So let's dive into this. As we said, we initially get the trigger that starts from here. We are then getting the delivery data that comes from this record ID. Then we update that delivery record with just a pick slip generation status. This is the system basically printing in here what the status is and just saying, hey, I'm starting up, basic. So far, so good. The next thing that we'll need to do is we need to create a iterator that will take in it the orders array from number 4, which is going to essentially iterate through the orders of the delivery. We're actually getting the information from that order by using get order from Airtable. Then we are creating a variable called quantity, and we're putting in the quantity from number 6, which is this one. And then finally, we have an aggregator that aggregates quantity. It starts, actually the source module is number 5, just to be clear. Target structure is custom, and we need to grab quantity from number 10, which is here, and it's checked over there. And we need to grab also total line item price. And that's it. Finally, we need to group by product name and press OK. Next, we have another iterator, but in this case, it's much smaller, which is this one over here. So we're iterating through the array of 9. So this array that was just generated, that looks kind of like this. You see a key, product 1, and then another array of quantity and total line item price, product 3, quantity, line item price, and product 2, quantity and line item price. So we're iterating through that, but we're actually aggregating the total line item price in here from this array, from number 15. Then we're creating a new variable called price, and we're bringing in the result from there. Next, we're updating record. Again, we're basically shooting another update to the system to notify the user that I'm generating stuff now. And we're also mentioning the previous picklist generation status from 25, which was earlier here. There you go. Next, we have another copy-paste basically of this iterator, I believe, where we're taking number 9, the array from number 9. There you go. And this time we're summing up the quantity. And again, we're creating a quantity variable over here as a result. And finally, we're taking the generated product name. We're creating a variable basically with calling it generated product name with the key from number 9 to be here basically. And then another array aggregator that has got the generated product name selected as a variable from number 13, the quantity from number 22, the picklist generation status, which is really important. Although weird that it's here, it's important that it is. And then the price from number 21, which was here, I believe. And I think that was it. Yes. So that's what this particular array aggregator should contain. Next, we have yet another update of the system to say, hey, I'm finalizing, I'm getting closer. And we're at the final stretch where we are basically creating total quantity. Total quantity is super easy to do. All you have to do is just take the array, number 12, okay, and create a map around it. And you should say map, then give it the array, like map what, from where? From this array, number 12, and then map which field, quantity, and what you want to do. So you're basically telling make to say, you know what, out of this array, I just want you to create a simpler array of just the quantity values from that array. And then all I'm telling it is to just sum up all the quantities. Then guess what I'm doing? I'm doing exactly the same thing, only with price. And I'm calling this total price. Again, map. So out of array number 12, I want to just extract the price values out of that and sum them up. So essentially, if I open this up, you can see I've got a bundle and I've got my quantity values. I've got my price values, and I'm just summing these things up into one single value. So total quantity 3, for instance, and then total price 585, because 375 plus 135 plus 75 equals 585. Hopefully that makes sense. Next, we have another iterator where I'm iterating again through my orders over here from number 4, really early up. So I'm iterating through my orders again. I'm grabbing that order record, and I am then basically, this is one of the trickiest things that we needed to do. I'm creating a piece of text basically, and that text is made up of the quantity, or rather it's made up of the emoji of the quantity, a space, X space, the product name, and then a new line and some dots and another new line. The most clever thing about this is that I am grouping this whole thing by 3 things, but essentially the combination of 3 values. Because we're dealing with this final section, I want to basically group this by the combination of the person and the address, essentially. So the way to do that based on your orders is to find the common denominators. And in this case, the first name, last name of each order is going to be the same. The delivery address consolidated is going to be the same, and the phone number. And all I'm doing is I'm actually adding some kind of unique delimiter between these values. And in my case, it's just 3 pipes between the first name, last name, then, and again, 3 pipes between the delivery address consolidated and the phone number. Press OK. Next, what I'm doing here is that I'm creating these sort of bundles, you see, where I have 3x product 1 and then space and then just dots. What the key is, because I'm grouping by this, right? The person, the address, and the phone number. And the same thing happens here, where the system is creating these sort of line items for me in a nice fashion like that. But it's grouping them by the person, because this guy, Mike Rose, had ordered 1 of product 2 and 3 of product 3. So what am I doing next? I'm basically creating the client, but I'm extracting it from the key that comes from this aggregator. So all I'm saying here is split the item key, which is this, by the 3 pipes, and then I'm using get, which basically says, okay, give me an array, which this is an array essentially, as soon as I use split, and get me the first item from that array. So that is the client name. In other words, Harvey Jones will be extracted. Harvey Jones, and in the second instance, Mike Rose. Then we have another one for the address, which again, I'm using that grouping key, but only this time I'm using the second value from that array, Harvey Jones, pipes, and then the test address. So in this case, it's going to be just the addresses that are coming through. 1 for Harvey Jones and 1 for Mike Rose. And you guessed it. The final thing is just the unique phones. The most important thing to notice here is that my variable names have got... It's important to name these things accurately. And then finally, the text aggregator, all it does is just aggregates the phone, the address, the client, and the actual text from the aggregator over here from number 32, which is essentially this values here and this here for these 2 orders. I believe that's it. I don't think there's anything else. Good. Finally, now that we've got all of this stuff ready to go, we can now map all of this into Documint. Connect Documint to make.com, select your template, and then all we have to do is just map, make sure mapping is turned on for the line items. And here we need to add array number 12, which is this one over here, which is called line items. Next, total quantity is matched to total quantity 27, which is here. Then price follows that. Notes, those are just the pick list notes from number 4, so early on. And delivery stops is basically the array number 33, which we're just working on right now. So that then generates the document. And finally, we have the update of that same record to say, hey, I've completed everything that you've told me to do. And you're also mapping the file URL and the file name URL in the pixlip PDF. And that's basically it. Let's run one more test. Now that I've kind of lined it up, it looks a lot longer than it actually is. So let's go ahead and run another test. So I'm just gonna run this so you can see how it's gonna go. So now it's gonna receive the trigger here and start compiling all of this data. And now it's generating the PDF, and now it has updated our system back in Airtable with the data. Like so. We have product 1, 2, and 3, quantities 2, 1, and 3, total of 6, value 250 plus 75 plus 135 equals value 460. Mike Rose, he needs these products, and Harvey Jones needs this one single product. And also, you can see that there's a delivery note. Please do not forget to include a free fire extinguisher kit with every order. Happy driving. And this comes from this note over here that I've put in. So yeah, that's it for me. Let me know your thoughts on this. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.